Fort Knox, just giving a small brief history of it and what's going on with Fort Knox these days. It seems like Doge is getting involved in it. I think that's kind of cool. But let's talk about Fort Knox and kind of the history of it because it's a very, I don't know if a lot of folks know how all of that began. So I'm going to do a little bit of reading. So bear with me a little bit, but I think you'll enjoy the history. Fort Knox, uh, major U.S. military reservation in Meade, Harding, and Bullitt counties in North Kentucky, America, of course. It lies 30 miles southwest of Louisiana. It occupies 172 square miles.
Wow.
It was established in 1918 as Camp Knox, and it was named after Major General Henry Knox, who was the first U.S. Secretary of War. It's has become a permanent military post in 1932. Maximum security of the U.S. Bullion Depository is a solid, square, bulletproof structure with mechanical protective devices. It was built there in about 1936 to hold the bulk of the nation's gold reserves. During World War II, the gold vault was used as a repository for the original U.S. Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Magna Carta, and the original draft of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. And all of that was for safekeeping during wartime periods. So I don't know if a lot of folks know that, but that's really kind of rather neat. In Since
Yeah.
1940, Fort Knox has been the U.S. Army armor headquarters with various training schools. All U.S. Army armored soldiers serve there at least once during their enlistment. Patton Museum of Cavalry and Armor displays American Civil War weapons and captured enemy weapons are also there. So that's really kind of a very unique thing. It's a very large reservation. The building itself is also kind of interesting, and ironically enough, there's not a lot of um, information out there regarding the building, but I did find a little tidbit that I think is really kind of neat, and that is that the building is made up of 16,000 cubic feet of granite, 4,200 cubic yards of concrete, 750 tons of reinforced steel, and 670 tons of structural steel. It is actually even not only is it bomb proof, uh, but it's it could even take the impact of a nuclear weapon. So
Wow.
really kind of a neat thing. Um, I thought it's also interesting that the building's integrity is so unimaginable, yet greater security measures are also in place. I think it's interesting that surrounding the interior, uh, there are separate electrical fences, two of them actually, that surround the building uh, and then another barrier of thick concrete, searchlights, of course, uh, that are in the area, and which costs the government $5 million per year just to maintain its upkeep. Uh,
Wow.
the ground is also has mines, so if you can't just walk up willy nilly just as a visitor, you might not make it if you were to
Very cool.
actually get through there. Um, the first pieces of gold arrived at the facility in 1937. The first gold of Fort Knox wasn't brought by any kind of secret service or military. It was actually trained in with armored train cars by the U.S. Mail, with which had reinforced steel plus machine guns, but it was the first gold shipment was brought in by train. I think it's kind of unique that it was done by the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah.
Uh, the gold bars that are inside Fort Knox, which some people say there's no gold left in there, but no, not so sure. But the gold bars that are inside, they weigh 27 and a half pounds. They are uniform structure. They're 7 inches long and 3.5 inches wide. The front door of the vault weighs over 20 tons,
Wow.
and no one person knows the exact combination. It takes it obviously takes a team to make it all work. And again, there's tripwires, landmines, the satellite defense uh, has also come into play with the advent of satellites. Um, and the ultimate safe is protected by a 27-inch thick concrete steel known to withstand an atomic bomb. So I would say that you're not just going to get in and take a walk.
Hmm.
The question that a lot of folks have had um, is about the audits, but I want to discuss another little thought regarding gold itself. And on April 20th, 1933, the United States went off of the gold standard uh, and went on to a monetary system, which is what we now use as paper cash and currency, which was backed by gold at the given time. But they went off of that standard. Congress enacted a joint resolution nullifying the right of creditors to demand payment in gold. So folks didn't have to pay with gold coins, so to speak. In the United States began the gold standard in 1879, except for the an embargo on gold during World War One. In March of 1933, President Roosevelt declared a national bank moratorium in order to prevent a run on banks by consumers lacking confidence in the economy at that time, because obviously in the 30s there was a Great Depression. Facing similar pressures, even Britain had dropped their gold standard in 1931. So it was kind of a uniform thing. In April of 1933, President Roosevelt at that time, ordered that all gold coins and gold certificates in denominations of $100 be turned in for paper money. It required that all persons deliver all gold coin, bullion, and gold certificates owned by them to the Federal Reserve, and then traded in for cash. Gold at that time was set at $20.67 per ounce at that time, and the government had set that. Uh, and then also, I think it's notable that the government held 35 cents per ounce in 1971 under Richard Nixon, uh, would no longer convert dollars into gold as a fixed value, uh, thus completing and abandoning what we call the gold standard. In 1974, Gerald Ford signed into legislation uh, that permitted Americans again to own gold. So that moratorium lasted from the 1930s all the way up to the 70s, and it wasn't until the 1970s when you could actually own gold again. So that's
Mm.
kind of a brief history on that. So bringing fast forwarding this up to now, everyone's questioning. Okay, let's get Doge in and audit the uh, Fort Knox. Um, it is notable that the last true audit at Fort Knox was done under President Eisenhower in 1953. In 1974, Mary Brooks, along with Treasury Secretary William Simon, did a it was kind of a it was kind of silly because they opened it up to the members of the press to come in and actually tour um, one of the vaults that are within the in there. It was all done for show. They called it an audit, um, but it really wasn't an audit. It was there for show, just to say, hey, the gold is actually here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was done in 1974. But it was really in 1953 that the last audit was actually done, and it wasn't even a complete audit of the gold. So uh, Rand Paul had uh, put a little note out that he's been trying to get in and take a look at what's inside of Fort Knox as well, but they simply won't let him. Zero Hedge made a note that and it here's how it read, and it was actually directed to Musk. It would be great if Elon Musk could take a look inside Fort Knox and to make sure that all 4,580,000 tons of gold is actually there. The last time anyone looked was 50 years ago in 1974. But again, that was just for show. They didn't see all of the gold; they just saw one bolt. Then Elon had replied to that and said, "Well, surely it's reviewed at least every year." And Rand Paul responded back and said, "Nope, let's do it." And of course, now President Trump has gotten into it and also wants to find out. He made the comment that if all the gold's not there, he's going to be very, very upset. So with that, that kind of brings us to date. There was someone had mentioned, and I don't recall who it was at the moment, that even it could be as early as next week that they could actually do an audit. I kind of wonder if that would actually happen that quickly because this would take a lot of time to get an audit, to get into it and get an audit done. This is not just something that you walk into the front door. So
Mm.
that's kind of a brief history of Fort Knox. I think it's kind of cool. The Fort Knox, if you will, on the reservation, so to speak, is really neat.
Yeah, that is really cool. I think I think you said it was $20 an ounce, right?
$20.74 an ounce back in the 1933, I believe. Yeah, 1933.
Wow.
Yeah,
I looked it up. It's close to 3,000. I think it's like 29.50 or something like
yeah,
that right
yeah.
now.
It's been bumping that $3,000 mark now for a little while.
Yeah.
Exactly. But with the way the economy is at the moment, and with the past administration just destroying the economy, it's understandable that gold and wars, uh, the wars, it's understandable that gold is really as high as it is because it's fear basically, and silver is following suit, but obviously silver's not nearly as high as gold. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Um,
think I saw platinum this morning at 900 and some dollars an ounce. But
Looks like silver, price of silver, $32.72 per ounce
Okay.
right now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, a brief history of Fort Knox. Really kind of amazing. It's an amazing building, and it's built even in the 1930s. They had the vision to look ahead in time and to build that to withstand an atomic bomb. Really kind of neat. And there are actually towers around that building. If you look at it, there are machine gun towers around there too. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah,
All right. Well, that was awesome. I enjoyed learning about that. I had no idea the security was that tight there. I mean, it makes complete sense, but I had no idea how in depth they went to protect all of that.
right. Well, it was fun researching it. It was fun taking a look at it, and I enjoyed it. And I hope that all of you out there enjoy it too.
All right. See y'all next week.
Take care.